Hello everyone. Today I will be reading 3 creepy posts that I found on the Creepy Encounters subreddit. So sit back and relax, because tonight we will be diving headfirst into their experiences.
These are their stories.
On September 23rd, 2020, at 3:19 p.m., a Reddit user would post their terrifying story on the Creepy Encounters subreddit. Their post is as follows. I got off at work at around 10 p.m. and headed home. I live alone and always make sure my front door is locked before I leave for work, but when I got home, the door was unlocked. I knew for a fact I locked it when I left because, like I stated, I always lock it. I also have severe OCD and would have never forgotten to lock my door, as I am too obsessed with my routine to forget. I was thoroughly unsettled by this and immediately retrieved my 9mm pistol from the drawer next to my front door. I set the bag of fast food I picked up down and looked around the dark living room, fumbling for the light switch. Once the light flicked on, to my utter horror, my whole apartment was in complete disarray. Paperwork strewn all over the floor that had been put away in my office, and my social security card and birth certificate were among the mess. I quickly made way to my office, and once I entered the room, I found all the drawers were open and my computer had been turned on and was on the lock screen, as if someone had tried to get into my computer. I checked the rest of my apartment and didn't find anybody. I put my gun back and immediately phoned the police. They arrived fairly quickly and took a report of the break-in. They asked me if I had any enemies or if I made anyone mad recently, to which I responded that I haven't. No such thing had occurred, and furthermore, I am not the type of person to have quarrels with people. I was quite dumbstruck by what I had come home to. I cleaned up the mess and attempted to sleep, but tossed and turned most of the night while laying with my gun under my pillow. I would also like to add that I'm a very paranoid person, so the whole thing naturally had freaked me out, and every night I go to bed, I have my gun under my pillow. The next day I had off, so I left to go hiking with my girlfriend. We started dating 6 months ago. I left around 9 a.m. and stopped by the Starbucks next to my apartment. While I sat in the busy drive-thru line, I looked up and noticed a man staring at me from across the street on the same side as my apartment complex. The thing that was the most interesting about this man, though, was how much of a resemblance to me he bared. This guy had the same hair as me, was about the same height and weight, wore glasses like me, and looked to be about the same age as me too. He didn't appear to have any expression on his face, and just stood there still as a statue, just staring at me. It was my turn to get my orders, so I grabbed my coffee, and when I went to pull out of the drive-thru, the man was gone. The day went as planned, and my girlfriend and I had a great day together. I told her about the incident at my apartment and the man who looked like me, and she joked that perhaps my doppelganger had broken into my apartment. After I parted ways with my girlfriend, I made my way home. I was a little bit nervous to return home, fearing whoever had broken into my apartment might have returned. Whatever they were there for that night, they seemed to be looking for something. I arrived back at my apartment and made my way to my apartment unit. I live upstairs, and as I approached the stairs to my front door, I heard someone coming down the stairs. I was still a good distance away from the stairwell and was alarmed as I didn't have a neighbor that lived upstairs. Therefore, no one should have been coming down those stairs. I stopped to see who it was, and to my shock, it was none other than the same man I had seen earlier that morning. He walked quickly and I looked down as he walked. I shouted at him to stop, but as soon as he heard me, he took off and ran and hopped the fence that separates the apartment complex from a large field and disappeared into the night. I ran upstairs to my apartment and tried the doorknob, which was once again unlocked. I went inside and was horrified. All over the walls in my living room were pictures of me and my girlfriend from that day. Pictures that looked as if they had been taken right from the tree line next to the trail her and I were on. I once again called the police to report the break-in. They came and searched the apartment as well as the entire complex. I told them about the man I had seen running into the field. They searched the field and returned with a pair of eyeglasses and a wig. The police took the items they found into evidence and opened up a case. They stationed 2 police cars outside my apartment and informed the apartment manager about what was going on. It's been almost a week since this all started, and nothing else has happened since. No more random break-ins or creepy photos of me and my girlfriend. I've also been staying with a coworker of mine until things die down. I have no idea why whoever is doing this is targeting me. Based on the items the police found in the field, my guess this person is actually trying to pretend to be me for some odd reason. I don't know what any of this means. I'll be sure to give an update if anything else happens. Update. So I got home from work and met a guy named Mike. He introduced himself as the new maintenance guy and he seemed pretty nice. This morning though, I walked into my car to notice Mike staring at me with a completely blank expression. He just stared at me and never once appeared to even blink. I went about my day thinking nothing else of it. When I got home from work though, I pulled into my parking space and made my way to my apartment, only to see Mike literally walking out of my front door and locking it behind him. I was confused by this but not alarmed as I knew he worked at the complex. As he turned around to look at me, he just smiled. "Oh, hello. We left you an email informing you that your smoke alarm was going off rapidly and wouldn't stop, so due to constant complaints, I was permitted to briefly enter your unit to fix the alarm." Mike said this in a polite but robotic tone. I was skeptical immediately because of the fact that they didn't wait for me to come home to enter, which they are supposed to do. Due to my constant paranoia, I cannot help but fear that something else is going on. I don't know what really to make of this. I'm definitely going to the apartment manager on Monday to discuss this with her. On May 22nd, 2019, at 10:31 p.m., a Reddit user would upload their disturbing experience. Their post is as follows. A few years ago, I was 17, just graduated from high school and got my first job at a Christian camp near Yosemite in California over the summer. Mainly, the people I worked with were great, really sweet Christian college kids, the good kinds. There was this one guy though, I'll call him Carl, who I frankly did not like. Carl was tall, handsome, and charming. He had curly golden brown hair and a smile that could stop your heart. His eyes, though, were just dead. He never got those little crinkles in the corners of his eyes when he smiled. It was like the top half of his face was just dead. There were things I didn't like about Carl right off the bat. His eyes, for one, that dead smile of his. He also never asked for anything. He tried to twist your arm. He just very softly and very slowly tried to manipulate the situation until you almost felt like you owed him. Each time, it felt like a part of my brain shut down, like it slammed a door shut and there was a very clear feeling of, no, this is not right. Save him some food, but do not walk out into the woods to give it to him. Something is wrong. I got along with most of the little cliques at camp. No one really disliked each other, as far as I knew, and we kind of just broke off into groups based off what we liked to do in our free time, or who we worked with the most. Carl, though, seemed to make friends one-on-one within a clique. By the time he left the group, it was decimated. They were fighting, not speaking, and didn't trust each other. I know this isn't a lot of evidence, but I'm trying to paint a picture of a man who just seemed wrong. One day, everyone at camp decided to go to Fresno. We were tired of camp food and wanted real dinner, maybe see a movie or go bowling. I was off work last. Now, at camp we had a sign-out sheet. Being so close to Yosemite, we often went hiking, so if we left, we had to put our name down, along with where we were going, when we left, and when we should be expected back. This way, if something happened, they would know when to start looking for us. So I put all my info on the sheet and headed down to the parking lot. My friends had all divided up into their cars. I didn't drive, and I jokingly asked if they forgot about me. They said Carl had said I could ride with them. I looked around but didn't see Carl, although I had seen his name on the sign-in sheet. All the hair on my body stood on the end. I was terrified to get in the car with this guy alone. He felt so wrong, so off. Just not right. I don't know how else to say it. My friends would tell me I had nothing to be worried about. It would be just fine. I saw Carl walking toward the parking lot, that dead smile on his face, and everything in me was screaming not to get in the car. I said I was tired and wanted to stay in tonight, and Carl laid the charm on thick, telling me what a good night would be. I owed him because of God knows what. Flashing that dead smirk, I refused. He got angry, told me I didn't need to be such about it. I thought we were friends, the lot. I refused. Finally, everyone figured out that I wouldn't be persuaded. I hugged one of my girlfriends goodbye, whispering in her ear to not ride back with Carl under any circumstances. When they all left, I walked back to the area with the sign-off sheet to cross my name off, since obviously I wasn't going anywhere. I saw the sheet, saw where my name was, and my heart dropped. My name had already been erased. On June 18th, 2021, at 5:14 p.m., a Reddit user would upload their horrifying experience. Their post is as follows. My mom worked at Walmart and she was being harassed by an employee. Guy was your typical Billy badass who offered my mom to whoop my brother and I and kick us out. When he learned she was widowed and my brothers and I were struggling to find work. This probably would have already been a bad gamble on his end, since my older brother and I worked in the woods frequently and did lots of heavy moving for people. He would often make comments that creeped my mom out, I told her to report him to her boss if he failed L&I and the police. One night, my mom let me borrow her truck and dropped her off and went to pick her up later. We were going to do a range day with my friends and teach a friend of mine's fiance gun safety and how to shoot. I'm also a licensed concealed carrier. I rarely carry other than hunting or going to the range. I pull up to pick my mom up and I see the dude she was talking about. He was smoking and looking at us as he stood. My mom then handed me money and told me to grab a few things. I threw my jacket on to cover up my holster and walked in. I noticed he immediately followed me around, glaring at me and snarling, like as if he was about to fight. Every section he was there, so I decided to move through a few others. I talked to a young female associate. Some BS boondoggle to see his reaction. He was clenching something and staring. The associate felt comfortable as she kept looking at him. I moved and he followed until I cut off to the checkout. I got my things and left. As soon as I got back, my mom unlocked the door. Meanwhile, I was burning up as my jacket of choice was my heavy Carhartt, so I was unzipping it, and my mom looked worried as I heard footsteps coming. I turned to see him walking at me. He sees the holster and he stops. "Excuse me, can I help you?" I inquired, kind of forgetting I got my holster on still. He zips over to his rusty truck and gets in and waits. My mom is very scared. I see a cigarette light up and he's waiting. My mom immediately tells me to go to the passenger side. I sit down and pull my phone out. I'm ready to call the police. My mom starts driving. He immediately cuts us off and drives off down the road. We see his truck on the side of the highway. As we drove by, my mom immediately floored it and had me pump gas for her when we got to the station. I left my gun in the car for her as she locked the doors. Unbeknownst to my mom, I called the night manager and told her about the aggressive, threatening employee. He was shocked. I made it clear that if I see that employee again, or if I'm followed or harassed, I'm suing the store and its management for allowing dangerous behavior in their store by employees. I got back in the pickup, and my mom drove until we got home. Next morning, I filed a follow-up complaint on this guy to the staff, and they said he's fired and banned from the property and threatened legal charges. My mom came back and seemed happier. She informed me that her creep got fired. Alright guys, that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video of 3 creepy stories that I found off the Creepy Encounters subreddit. What did y'all guys think about these stories? Did you think they were real or fake? Personally, I think the first one's fake, but I'll let you guys decide. Let me know down in the comments. As always though,
Have a nice day.